Namaste and good morning to all. Today, we all are gathered to invite and feel the divine within us. Uh, if you see around you will be surprised that everything is pre-arranged and functioning without any human intervention. Even human life also fully controlled by a supreme force. So, very few things that human can control over. So we cannot even predict what will happen tomorrow, as all of us now experiencing after March 2020. So we all are here as acting as a protectors, not creators. The only creator is Supreme Lord. So the central theme of Sri Aurobindo's vision was the evolution of human life into a life uh, into life divine. Sri Aurobindo believed in a spiritual realization that not only liberated but transformed human nature, enabling a divine life on earth. So, with this, I will request all, please let us keep aside all our designation, pride, inventions for this 1 hour and try to understand the purpose of life and understand ourselves for better earth, for betterment of our own life, and uh, for tackle any situation in our life. With this, I would like to welcome Mistress Nirupama, Associate Director, Novartis Hyderabad, to present her presentation. Thanks. Thank you to all.
Thanks, Devashish. Namaste to all of you. We can start with a short meditation accompanied by music. Thank you. So, gratitude once more, and thanks all of you for joining here today. Uh, so, today's session is based on need of the hour. And what do all of you understand? What we understand with this term, need of the hour? That is, how do we rise to the occasion? To understand that, let us just reflect back on yesterday's session a bit. Yesterday, Shweta Padma, while speaking through her, while she was speaking through, she mentioned two terms, perfection and delight. I hope all of you remember when she spoke about perfection and delight or joy. What do you think about these two aspects then? Does perfection come since we do our role joyfully? Or joy is the spontaneous reward of doing our duty perfectly? What is it? Let us try to dissect and analyze this. Yesterday, she gave the example of a child who is in the state of maximum happiness. Hope you remember that example where she was just telling us about her parent, the child's parents, who had a certain amount of bank balance and still they were not satisfied with what they had and they were in pursuit of some other kind of happiness. However, the child with zero bank balance was in the state of happiness. And strangely enough, research shows that children up to the age of 7 to 8 have the maximum capacity to learn and they have the most imaginative capacity. Why is it so? To understand this, let us take an opposite example. Say, when one is angry, do we get any innovative ideas? No. Are we able to understand a new concept properly? No. Can we think logically? No. It's like a part of our brain which is responsible for anger. It takes up all the oxygen supply. The logical brain is left with none. It has no oxygen for its functioning. Whereas when we are in a state of joy and gratitude and feelings of such dimension, this oxygen is supplied equally to all parts of brain and all functions of the brain are carried out in sync. The result of this is perfection, giving rise to more joy. And this is a chain reaction, joy leading to perfection, perfection leading to joy, and vice versa. This is as good as a meditative state. We must have had heard of ample examples from our ancient rishis. This land has no dearth of such examples, be it inventions in astronomy, metallurgy, mathematics, arts, literature, or anything that you speak of. India was not left behind in any field. And these great rishis, they are no less than scientists. They were, they derived that kind of strength. They reached their potential by being in this state of meditation, in this joy and gratitude, which is the need of the hour. And what do you think is our responsibility in today's age? In my opinion, I see it like it's as simple as this. If we are able to play a role, be it as a teacher, a parent, or a citizen of this responsible citizen of this country, whatever it is, as perfectly or sincerely as can be, we can inch towards that what is expected out of us. Now, let us just focus on one role from the above, that of a responsible citizen. Do we all feel that we should do something for our motherland? The one who has given birth to us and holding us with such love at all times, irrespective of whether we deserve that? If yes, then how? Is it only the defense personnel who serve the nation? Can we not be our own army? Or does our responsibility just end with casting our electoral rights? I would say a no. We can be an army in our own way. If we can fulfill our given task sincerely and perfectly, we would stand up to the need. And of course, this profession, I would say, is the noblest, where one can serve society, the nation, and self. This is most fulfilling when we see our students scale heights of success. What joy in it! If we are able to perform our duty perfectly and with utmost sincerity, an inspired generation would arise out of our own efforts. Yesterday, if you remember, I had given the example of Sri Aurobindo. He has also been a teacher, first in the Baroda College and then as the principal of National College, Calcutta. His students loved him, were awed by him, and inspired by him. He not only taught them the subjects which is the least expected from us in this role, he showed them the path, inspired them to reach new heights. He made them rise up to the occasion when the country was in need of youth. Many of them became educationists and teachers because they felt that this is the profession where they could make the most impact because they were inspired by their teacher. When he resigned from his job from National College in Calcutta so that he could dedicate sufficient time for freeing up his country, his students were crestfallen. They requested him at least to give them a piece of advice. I will just read out a gist of what he had told them at that time, more than 100 years back. The only piece of advice that I can give you now is carry out the work, the mission for which this college was created. I have no doubt that all of you have realized by this time what this mission means. When we established this college and left other occupations, other chances of life to devote our lives to this institution, we did so because we hope to see in it the foundation, the nucleus of a nation, of the new India, which is to begin its career after this night of sorrow and trouble. On that day of glory and greatness, when India will work for the world, what we want here is not merely to give you a little information, not merely to open to you careers for earning a livelihood, but to build up sons for the motherland, to work and to suffer for her. That is why we started this college, and that is the work to which I want you to devote yourselves in future. What has been insufficiently and imperfectly begun by us, it is for you to complete and lead to perfection. When I come back, I wish to see some of you becoming rich. Rich not for yourselves, but that you may enrich the mother with your righteous. I wish to see some of you becoming great. Great not for your own sakes, not that you may satisfy your own vanity, but great for her, to make India great, to enable her to stand up with head erect among the nations of the earth, as she did in the days of yore, when the world looked up to her for light. Even those who will remain poor and obscure, I want to see their very poverty and obscurity devoted to the motherland. There are times in a nation's history when Providence places before it one work, one aim, to which everything else, however high and noble in itself, has to be sacrificed. Such a time has now arrived for our motherland, when nothing is dearer than her service, when everything else is to be directed to that end. If you will study, study for her sake. Train yourselves body and mind and soul for her service. You will earn your living that you may live for her sake. You will go abroad to foreign lands that you may bring back knowledge with which you may do service to her. Work that she may prosper, Suffer that she may rejoice. All is contained in that one single advice. Thank you. I would request Hare Krishna Bhai to start.
ओम आनंदमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे My dear brothers and sisters, and my pranam, my heartily salute to the divine within everybody. It is one of my greatest pleasure to be with all of you. I hope and pray to the Mother and Sri Aurobindo. During our discussion, our hearts will get the touch of the grace of Divine Mother, and at the same time it will transform, penetrate, and give some more faith for the divine in our heart. Now we'll come to the topic. This topic of discussion is the need of the hour in the vision of Sri Aurobindo. Before going to know about the need of hour, I think first of all we have to discuss where are we now, or what is the situation of the earth now. As we are seeing in the slide, according to Puranas, now we are in Kali Yuga. According to Purana, the Kali Yuga means we are in the age of falsehood. We are in the age of all type of kalankas. And we can say that we are in the age of destruction, disharmony, pain, suffering, the effect of inconscient at the maximum level, etc., etc. And according to the Puranas and prophets, the Kali Yuga is the most darkest age comparing to the rest yugas and ages. And in this age, the earth will be completely destroyed or abolished. But according to Sri Aurobindo, this age or Kali Yuga is not only the age of destruction, it is also the age of new birth, of a new consciousness. According to Sri Aurobindo, this age of destruction carries within it the seed of new creation. This is the Kali Yuga which carries within it the capacity for the manifestation of the supreme truth, spiritual harmony, spiritual ananda, and at the same time it has the capacity to manifest the hour of God. According to the Mother and Sri Aurobindo, the Kali Yuga or the age of falsehood is following a permanent Satya Yuga. Or Sri Aurobindo said it another way or in another term, that Kali Yuga, that Satya Yuga is known as the supramental age. Or he is saying it is the era of golden light on earth, which has never happened before in this earth, in the material level. According to Ramakrishna Paramahansa, the Kali Yuga is so dark that it is the age of I. I means I am, or it is the age of ego. And he says nobody here understand he. He means the divine. Everybody understand here I, me, mine, every, etc., etc. Nobody understand who is divine, what to divine. Nobody. Everybody wants here to manifest or rule their ego upon others. And Sri Aurobindo and Mother says here, this age of ego has been over in the subtle level, and it will take time to manifest in the material level. But in future, in the Satya Yuga, there will be no ego at all. And according to Sri Aurobindo, we are now passing between two ages. That is the night of Kali Yuga or falsehood and the dawn of Satya Yuga. We are in the middle, somewhere in the middle point. I am repeating, Sri Aurobindo says, we are passing between the two ages. The night of Kali Yuga and the dawn of Satya Yuga. So from here the crisis starts. Because there would be no problem if we solely belong to the light or darkness. If we belong to light, then there will be no problem. If we will belong to darkness, then there will be no problem. But the situation of human being is, he is open both to the divine light and the anti-divine light, or he is open to both falsehood and at the same time towards the truth. So Sri Aurobindo says, now the problem starts. And the problem, 1 minute. So at the same time, we are open towards the falsehood and towards the truth. So Sri Aurobindo says, now we are in a transitional stage. So this is the main crisis. So we can say this is the main crisis. So we can divide this crisis into two parts. One is outer crisis, then next we will discuss about the inner crisis. What is outer crisis? If we look towards our surrounding, if we look towards our environment, the environment is full of poison. Mother says somewhere, you could not take or you could not breathe without poison, because the whole environment or air is full of poison. According to a report, at least 5 lakh people dying in Europe due to air pollution. According to India today, the Delhi is so polluted that if you living for a 1 day in Delhi means you are smoking 10 cigarettes per day. There is another example. According to the World Health Organization, or as we all know, mother's milk is best feeding for a baby. But now they are tracing the pesticides or the poison in mother's milk also. Because the mother, those who are eating the fruits, there are pesticides in the fruits and it is contaminating the milk. So from the infant age, so from the childhood, we are not getting anything without poison. So at least we are not able to get our basic needs without poison. It is definitely a crisis. So if we look towards the finance, towards economy, towards society, towards education, everything is in corrupted situation, or everything is in crisis. So I don't want to give any more example about this. So if we look at our society, according to Mother, the rules and the laws of thousands years are breaking in our society, and the society is going towards a great imbalance. Any philosophy, any ideology, nothing is now capable to balancing our society, and nobody has that capacity to say what is the future of our society, what is the future of our education system, what will be the future of our finance or economic system. So this is the outer crisis now we are facing. Okay. So then we will come to the inner crisis. According to when we are thinking about the inner crisis, a report says that India is the most depressed country in the world, according to a report in 2018. And another report says that India has the highest suicide rate in Southeast Asia. Our scholar IIT students are doing suicide. Okay, so this is our inner level, because one will get depressed or suicide at that time when one is losing his confidence, when one is losing his self-confidence, one is losing his courage, one is losing the light within himself. I want to illustrate an example. When the Britishers were ruled in India, they imprisoned freedom fighters and sentenced them to death and forced in the prison to down their morality. But the prisoners, before sentenced to death, they were very happy. Once somebody asked the prisoners, the freedom fighters, how is it possible for all of you to remain so happy in these cursing circumstances? Because in our daily life, if the electricity stops for an hour, we became mad, we became irritated. But in the British India, they are torturing the Indians, they are torturing the freedom fighters, but they were happy because their moral and self-confidence is so high. And somebody asked them, how is it possible for all of you to remain so happy? They said, we are reading Gita, Upanishad, Bhagavad. And they all have their connection with the spiritual treasures of India. So this is the inner crisis our children, our youngsters, the peoples we are facing, not only in India, but the whole world, the whole country is facing the inner crisis. We are all trying to arrive to cross the boundary of this inner crisis. Okay, so this is the outer crisis, and another is the inner crisis. But Sri Aurobindo going a little ahead, he is saying that not inner crisis, not outer crisis, the inner and outer crisis are the result of an evolutionary crisis. Okay, Sri Aurobindo says that it is the evolutionary crisis we are facing. It means in the line of evolution, we know what is the evolution is. So Sri Aurobindo says in the line of evolution, we have reached at a stage, we have reached in the stage of development that the mind cannot help much more for the progress of our life integrally. Because mind is specially helping us through reasoning and science. And reasoning or science, it is only changing the color of our problems. It is not totally eradicating or transforming our problems. So Sri Aurobindo says we are facing an evolutionary crisis because we have to go ahead. I want to give an example how science is solving a problem, and only solving the color of the problem. We know there was a revolution named as Green Revolution. It came in Punjab and Haryana. And after Green Revolution, the food problem was solved. But after Green Revolution, the cancer problem was increased. So science and reasoning, what we are following, they are only changing the color of our problems, Sri Aurobindo says. So we have to go into another level. So according to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, if we will depend only upon science for solve of our problems in our life, then it is just like pumping a balloon. Because we will pump a balloon, it will definitely burst after certain limit upon my face. So according to Sri Aurobindo, we have to leave mind. Leave mind means we have to surrender to the mind to a new higher consciousness. It does never mean that science is totally false. Science is depending upon the falsehood. But what Sri Aurobindo or mean that, what it means that science could not help us to progress our life integrally or solve our problems absolutely. So Sri Aurobindo says we have to rise into a next level of consciousness. We have to open ourselves to the next level of consciousness or a new light, or Sri Aurobindo term it as the supramental light or consciousness. With the arduous labor of the both Mother and Sri Aurobindo, that force descended upon earth on 1950, and since 1950 it is working in the Earth's atmosphere. And Sri Aurobindo says it is the only hope for the man, countries, continent, and for the whole mankind to rise from this evolutionary crisis. Okay, so this is the situation where we are. We are in an evolutionary. We are going through an evolutionary crisis, according to Sri Aurobindo. So then the point comes: what is the need of the hour? Sri Aurobindo says the need of hour is very simple. We have to open. I may be a man, I may be a country, I may be a continent. We all have to open towards that new light. And by that, a new species will appear on the earth, which have the full of divine consciousness, full of divine truth, and which is totally free from human ignorance in unconsciousness, pain, and suffering. And according to Sri Aurobindo, that new light will penetrate into the human consciousness and it will transform into a new being. So Sri Aurobindo says this is the main thing and this is the need of the hour. So the next step is, this is very difficult in the mass level, but Indian soil, the consciousness of India has that capacity to take a leading role in this mission. It has a unique and remarkable role in this mission for the transformation or for make out of this world from the evolutionary crisis. Okay, so here is an example. There was a great astronomer and mathematician, Laplace of France. Once he was explaining about the position, movement of the sun, movement of planets, movement of stars, and place of Earth in our solar system. He was explaining everything to the Napoleon Bonaparte. We all knew who is Napoleon Bonaparte. So after listening this, Napoleon Bonaparte asked, where is the place of God in your solar system? I repeat again, Napoleon asked, where is the place of God in your solar system? So the answer of Laplace was, there is no place for God in solar system. So it is very difficult for an European mind in generally to believe the presence of God in the creation. But for an Indian mind, it is very natural. For India, God is present in each and every particles of the universe. For India, God is present within every body. But the problem is that every Indian or everybody is not evoking or adoring it. So according to Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, the more we come into the contact with the Godhead within us, the more we'll open towards that new light which have descended in 1950. Because according to Mother, the God is in the mire, or the God is covered by ignorance or inconscient or subconscient or anything, ignorance. God is covered. if we will come into the touch with that light, and if we will open towards that new light, Mother says all the problems of your daily life, it may be individual or universal, all the problems, all the crises, all the sufferings will be melted away like putting a piece of butter in front of a scorching sun. So according to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, India will first open towards that light in mass level. And by that, India will be reunited herself or her all parts, which consists 9 nations. We know, here is the slide. Sri Aurobindo says, India will be reunited. India, Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Nepal, Burma, Afghanistan, these 9 nations will be reunited, and it will be the Akhanda Bharata and the united India, and the whole light will be overflowed the Asia, and ultimately it will overflow the whole world. And the ultimate result is that India will be the spiritual leader or the spiritual guru of the whole world. So this is the evolutionary crisis, and next is our individual role, and this is the role of India to make rise the mankind from the evolutionary crisis. Then to understand it more clearly, Mother gave an example how the whole countries, how the countries of the whole earth, how the countries of the earth are under the control of dark force. We all knew the rings of Olympic. There are 5 rings. Mother says this is very, very unfortunate that all the 5 rings are upholded by a dark ring or the black ring. This means that a dark force, this symbolizes that a dark force, a blindness, which are struggling the sea of humanity on the dark sea of ignorance. Mother says that this circle symbolizes that the dark force is guiding all the countries. So Mother hope, it is our hope that in future the black ring will be replaced by a white one. And Mother says when will it happen? When the shade of ignorance are dispelled. And when the shade of ignorance are dispelled by the dawn of new light, the bright white self-luminous light of new consciousness. When the human consciousness will open towards that new light, which is bright, white, and self-luminous, then Mother says the dark ring will change into the bright ring, and it will be a new starting of a new era in the human consciousness or on the earth. So this is the last point. In the conclusion, I want to say, what is that who Mother, as I believe, Mother and Sri Aurobindo both represents to that new light. They are the form of that supramental light in human form, or just in a human form. So more we read Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, then more we will open constantly towards that light, and it will change our consciousness first in the individual level, and that will spread in the community. Then after the community, it will spread to the nation, and ultimately it will spread to the whole earth. Yeah? So here my topic ends. So I just want to repeat. So we are going through an evolutionary crisis, and the need of our is the more we open to the new consciousness or the new light, And the India has a very remarkable and leading role in this mission. So ultimately, we Indians have also a very special role to play. We should understand our responsibility, what India represents and what is going to do. Because according to Sri Aurobindo, India is moving, the carrying the burden of whole earth on her shoulder. And she is not a piece of earth, she is a Devi, like Parvati is a Devi, living being. So this is the mission of India. So the more we read Mother and Sri Aurobindo, the more we love Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Definitely, consciously or unconsciously, we will open towards that supramental light, and gradually it will transform us from and keep out of from the evolutionary crisis. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna Bhai, for such a insightful session. So it leaves us quite speechless. I would request if anyone from the audience has any questions, maybe we can take up a couple of questions. Anyone has any questions? We can take up a couple of questions. We have some time for that.
Yeah, if anyone has any question, they can raise hands or put that question in the chat box so that we can unmute them.
Okay, perhaps there is no question, we may conclude or proceed or anything else.
Devasis, do we have any questions from anyone else?
So I think there is a question. What is white ring relates to? There is a question that I see. What is white ring relates to?
White ring represents to pure divine light or pure divine consciousness. Okay. So this symbolize in future, as well, please show that slide. In future, the white ring will guide all other nations, or the divine light will guide all other nations. Okay, so dark ring represents dark force. Okay.
So I think there's another question that has come up. How Vedas help us to relate to present situation?
If in a refined form, Sri Aurobindo wrote the secret of Veda. Okay, the Vedas, the immortality, the all things in the Vedas, Sri Aurobindo revive it in another way. If we'll read in the Veda, Secret of Veda, there is a book of Sri Aurobindo, we'll get some light from it, how we could connect the light of Veda into our daily life. Okay, it is a very vast chapter. Sri Aurobindo invoking Agni, how to rise higher our Agni within us. Okay, it is written in Veda. There are hymns of Agni. So if we will read that book, The Secret of Veda, we'll get some clues how we get light from that. Okay.
Next question, I think it's a follow-up. Nagarjuna sir is again asking, is ego the black ring spread all around the world?
Yes, ego is the medium. Ego is the medium. Ego is the best instrument of the falsehood. The egoistic person can easily be an instrument of a dark force. It will become very easy. Okay, so it is nowadays it is very difficult to get out of ego, because maximum of personality or maximum of our being is under falsehood or under ego. Okay, so black ring indirectly refers to ego also. Because when a man free from egos, definitely it will be free and can be easily an instrument of divine. Okay.
We have quite an interesting question next on the deepest mystery of origin of this universe. So the question is, we all are born with a pleasant environment only. Then how does the shadow of darkness enter the world?
So this question is very deeper, and answer is also very deep and long. We have to get that answer. We have to go to the origin of this creation. According to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, they says that once the divine is alone, there was no creation. So once divine has a wish that I will see myself, so he created four forces out of himself: consciousness, light, love, life. Okay, so these four forces change into its opposite. Consciousness change into inconscient, life into death, love into hatredness, okay, bliss into pain. These four forces change into totally opposite. Okay? So from that, this shadow of darkness is coming. But now, what is happening? Mother and Sri Aurobindo says, after that shadowness, the divine created the gods of overmind, to solve or to refine the problem. But the gods was not absolutely capable to do that. So again, divine has created the earth to solve that problem, or to wipe out the shadow, to transform the inconscient absolutely, or we can say in the earth, human being. Okay, so human being has that role. He can wipe out the shadow or transform that shadow, because in the whole creation, only the earth and human being has the divine spark within himself. So by the divine spark, he can transform this shadow. It has the capacity, it is the potentiality of a human being. In Savitri, Sri Aurobindo says it is also impossible to gods. So in another point of view, gods are human beings are more powerful than gods. Okay, so shadows comes from that very origin of the creation. Okay, so so now we have that age after Kali Yuga. We have that capacity to transform this. Okay, these are very long and deeper questions. Okay, thank you very much.
There are two questions which can be clubbed as one. One of them is, how can we be patient enough to know when to be when do we be patient enough to be quiet, and when do we have to react? How do we know this? And
Please repeat the question. I can.
okay,
Please share.
how do we know? How can we know that we should be patient? When we should be patient enough to be quiet, and when should we react? This is one question. And the other question, which is similar, is people react for simple and silly things,
Yes.
but not for important issues. How
Okay.
can we attain that state of mind to differentiate both?
these things can only achieved, as for my experience, only achieved by by practice of some spiritual things. If we read spiritual things, if we listen spiritual things, if we practice meditation, anything related to spiritual, because by practicing spiritual things, our consciousness will be widened. The more widen our consciousness, automatically we will be patient or more or less reactive, and will react at the exact cause. Okay, so the simple answer is the more we practice spiritual things, our consciousness will be wide. Okay? So if our consciousness is narrow, then definitely we will react for silly things. We will react for money. We will react for a food. We will react for my dress. We will react for anything, because we are simply driven by our ego or lower consciousness. So the more we free from lower consciousness and ego, we will be more patient, and we perfect time we will react. Okay? So this is the only solution, I think. Practice, 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 more practice spiritual things. Read Mother and Sri Aurobindo, by which our consciousness will be vast, more and more vast, like ocean. Okay, then patience will come automatically.
I think in the interest of time, we will take up just one last question.
Yes.
So there's one question: if new creation is done after the end of this life, then again the dark shadow will re-enter, or how is it?
No. Mother says this will permanently abolish. Mother say, somebody asked Mother, you are saying about Satya Yuga. It is permanent or again it will be repeated? Satya, Tretaya, Dwapara, Kali, the cycle again repeated, or in the reverse back, reverse gear. Mother says, no, it will permanently establish in the material world. So once the new creation has been established, then it will never go back or reverse. Okay, okay, we may conclude here.
Thank you, Hare Krishna Bhaiya, for such beautiful and insightful topic today. So we will, we know that as Indians, we have that deeper connection with music. And here we have the classical form of music, all raga, emanating from that source of divinity. So to conclude the session, we will have Rajesh offering a prayer.
गुरुदेव सतत मेरे संग रहो, मैं रहूं तुम्हारे चरणों में। गुरुदेव सतत मेरे संग रहो, मैं रहूं तुम्हारे चरणों में। जीवन में हर पल साथ रहो, मन प्राण प्रिय हिय नयनों में। जीवन में हर पल साथ रहो, मन प्राण प्रिय हिय नयनों में। गुरुदेव सतत मेरे संग रहो, मैं रहूं तुम्हारे चरणों में। हर रोम रोम में इस तन के वास तुम्हारा रहे सदा। हर रोम रोम में इस तन के वास तुम्हारा रहे सदा। मेरे मन रूपी मंदिर में नित धाम तुम्हारा रहे बना, मेरे जीवन की हर गति में तुम साथ रहो जीवन बन के। गुरुदेव सतत मेरे संग रहो, मैं रहूं तुम्हारे चरणों में। जीवन में हर पल साथ रहो, मन प्राण प्रिय हिय नयनों में। गुरुदेव सतत मेरे संग रहो, मैं रहूं तुम्हारे चरणों में। हर कर्म में मेरे संग रहो, हो काम तुम्हारा हाथों से। हर कर्म में मेरे संग रहो, हो काम तुम्हारा हाथों से। मेरी वाणी में वास करो, हो प्राण हृदय तेरे बस में। ओ मेरे जीवन धन स्वामी, बसे रहो तुम कण कण में। गुरुदेव सतत मेरे संग रहो, मैं रहूं तुम्हारे चरणों में। जीवन में हर पल साथ रहो, मन प्राण प्रिय हिय नयनों में। जीवन में हर पल साथ रहो, मन प्राण प्रिय हिय नयनों में। गुरुदेव सतत मेरे संग रहो, मैं रहूं तुम्हारे चरणों में।
Thank you, Rajesh. At the end of the session, thanking all of you, and I wish and I pray that whatever we have listened to in today's session, we should be able to go back and start practicing that in our day-to-day life. And the next session is on 22nd of May, that is the coming Friday, same time. And I would request all of you to join at least 5 minutes before the presentation, so that we would be punctual and regular in our commitment. Thanking all of you. Have a wonderful weekend. Debashish,
Yes.
yeah, we are done from our end. Um,
Yes.
Maybe you can
Okay.
convey the thanks to all the director, HODs, whoever have allowed us to carry out this session.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, it was a wonderful session. I think all of you got some spark within them from the speaker and from the Raja's song. And I would like to thank Dr. Manaya for encouraging me to encourage such program. His lovely hand having a lot of encouragement for this for conducting this program. And I think sir is going to tell sir is going to address all.
Yeah,
So I would
definitely.
like to request.
Yeah.
I would like to request Dr. Manaya to address the gatherings.
Yeah. Good afternoon, all of you. Good afternoon, all resource persons, and well done, Mishra. So these days, everyone's supposed to conduct different types of FDPs. Like every FDP, as my knowledge, some academic relation, but this is nothing but a mental and physical aspects. So spiritual aspects. So it's a wonderful session. So really wonderful, Mishra. So I thank one and all, means all resource persons, Sweta Padma ma'am and Rajesh sir, everyone. Thank you, sir. We'll meet on 22nd on same 11 to 12 session. And one more wonderful session. Thank you once again. Yeah, Mishra.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, sir. Further, if there is any questions,
Any queries?
participants can mail to us for answer.
We'll continue the session also after reopening. So we'll conduct one more session, Mishra. And,
Sure.
for students.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Live session means
Yes.
in college we'll take one more session
Yeah, one more
after
session.
reopening.
Yes. 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 hours.
Yes.
4 hours, right?
Yes, sure, sir. Sure.
Sure.
Sure, sir. So I would like to request Rajesh Kumar Sahu and Mr. Sanjay Patra to keep the sir word on their mind to conduct a session in our college after the opening. Thank you for such a lovely session and
Thanks.
such a lovely word from the speakers.
Thanks, Dr. Manaya, for your encouraging words. And we would certainly look forward to the session that would be conducted for students. Of course, they are the future of this country, of society and mankind. And we would be more than happy to conduct such sessions in future in your campus.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Sure. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, sir. So we can conclude, we can end today's session.
Yes.
And we will meet again next week, coming Friday.
Yeah.
Thanks all of you.
Thank you.
Vande Mataram.
Jai Hind.